That's a reality for me. I love the people I work with. I love the people that are my family members, and I particularly love Nora.
At 69, Johnny Rotten finally revealed the 6 musicians who shaped him. And the list is nothing like you'd expect. From folk legends to avant-garde outsiders, punk's angriest voice drew inspiration from the most unlikely places. Today, we're counting down his 6 favorite musicians, and trust me, these picks will shock you. Kicking off at number 6 is an influence that makes perfect sense once you dig deeper. Captain Beefheart. To most casual listeners, Beefheart was nothing but noise and chaos. But for Rotten, Don Van Vliet's bizarre sonic experiments were pure rebellion. In the mid-70s, he stumbled upon Trout Mask Replica, Beefheart's legendary avant-garde blues album, and became obsessed. Former Sex Pistols bassist Glenn Matlock once recalled how Rotten would play it constantly, insisting, "This is what real rebellion sounds like. Not playing by anyone's rules, not even musical ones." What drew Rotten in wasn't just Beefheart's eccentric style. It was his uncompromising integrity. While other musicians polished their sound for radio play, Beefheart created music that existed in its own strange universe. Rotten admired that fearlessness, once telling NME, "True rebellion means destroying expectations, not just breaking them." And it shows in Rotten's later work with Public Image Ltd., where Beefheart's rhythmic unpredictability and experimental vocals echo throughout. To Rotten, Beefheart proved that rebellion could be intellectual as well as emotional. At number 5 sits a shocker, Scott Walker. Best known at first as a heartthrob crooner in the Walker Brothers, Walker eventually abandoned pop stardom to dive into haunting experimental solo work. For Rotten, that career shift was the very definition of punk. The story goes that in 1976, Rotten discovered Walker's solo records and was mesmerized. Sex Pistols manager Malcolm McLaren later remembered Rotten describing Walker as a teen idol who turned into a complete artistic madman. That's real punk. What fascinated Rotten wasn't Walker's silky ballads, but the darker, more terrifying work that followed. Albums like The Drift or Climate of Hunter were filled with orchestral nightmares, eerie soundscapes, and lyrics dripping with existential dread. Rotten admired that Walker had the courage to alienate his fan base for the sake of honesty. "Scott Walker taught me real rebellion means abandoning what makes you popular," Rotten explained in 1978. And sure enough, his own experimental approach with Public Image Ltd. carried that same lesson forward. At number 4, Rotten takes us to Jamaica, with his deep admiration for dub legend Lee "Scratch" Perry. Rotten first encountered Perry's work in London, at a friend's flat in Notting Hill. As the story goes, Perry's dub tracks shook the walls, and Rotten froze, declaring, "This man is turning music inside out and upside down. He's not just making records, he's creating new realities." Perry's genius was in his production style. While most producers tried to perfect every note, Perry embraced chaos, layering echo, space, and distortion until the songs felt alive. Rotten called it controlled madness, a style that seemed nonsensical until you realized it was actually deliberate genius. Critics often dismissed Perry as eccentric or self-indulgent, but Rotten defended him fiercely. To him, Perry was a kindred spirit, an outsider who refused to follow the rules of his own genre. Punk had its rules, reggae had its rules, and Perry broke them all. Rotten even admitted that Perry taught him a fundamental lesson, that silence and space could be just as powerful as noise. Now, for one of the most surprising names on this list, Van der Graaf Generator. In the mid-70s, Rotten heard the prog rock band's album Pawn Hearts at a party and was completely transfixed. What hit him hardest was singer Peter Hamill's vocal delivery, emotional, unrestrained, and raw. "That man screams like his life depends on it," Rotten once said, but over these incredible musical landscapes. It's punk emotion with classical power. Most punk fans would have dismissed prog rock as pretentious. But Rotten saw something different. Unlike bands that flaunted complexity for its own sake, Van der Graaf Generator used their sophistication to channel brutal honesty. Rotten called their sound beautiful violence, an artful explosion that still kept its raw intensity. This influence bled into Rotten's own stage presence and public image Latide's longer experimental tracks. To him, Hamel proved that intelligence didn't water down rebellion. It sharpened it. Number 2 brings us to one of Rotten's deepest musical heroes, Neil Young. To outsiders, the idea of the snarling punk idol admiring a folk rocker might sound ridiculous. But Rotten saw in Young something beyond genre, a fearless artistic independence. In the mid-70s, before fame, Rotten discovered Young's Tonight's the Night and played it endlessly. According to guitarist Steve Jones, Rotten was captivated because Young didn't care whether people liked what he was doing. He reinvented himself constantly, refusing to be pinned down by any one style. Neil Young changes direction every time people think they've figured him out, Rotten told Rolling Stone in 1980. That restless courage inspired Rotten's own refusal to reunite the Sex Pistols for money, and his determination to push forward with public image Latited. To Rotten, Neil Young symbolized the hardest rebellion of all. Not just defying the establishment, but defying your own success. And finally, at number 1, the most haunting and unexpected influence of all, Nico. Long before Rotten was famous, as a teenager in 1974, he discovered Nico's The Marble Index. From that moment, he was spellbound. Biographer John Savage recalls Rotten saying, "She sings like she's already dead, but somehow more alive than anyone else. It's the most honest sound I've ever heard." What struck him wasn't her association with the Velvet Underground, but her uncompromising solo work. Dark, difficult, often unsettling, music that demanded nothing from the audience, yet revealed everything about her. Rotten called it beautiful isolation, the sound of someone refusing to sugarcoat reality. To him, Nico embodied absolute artistic purity. She never cared about being likable. She never apologized for being difficult. And in that uncompromising honesty, Rotten saw the ultimate definition of rebellion. So there you have it. At 69, Johnny Rotten's 6 favorite musicians: Captain Beefheart, Scott Walker, Lee Scratch Perry, Van der Graaf Generator, Neil Young, and Nico. Not a list of 3-chord punks, but a gallery of fearless innovators who challenged expectations and bent music to their will. Rotten's taste proves that rebellion doesn't mean staying in one box. It means having the courage to evolve, to shock, and to speak the truth, no matter how strange or uncomfortable it sounds. Now it's your turn. Which of these influences shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more hidden stories from the legends of music.